Nick, I thank you for the presentation. And I'm glad that you guys took on a process to improve. And I know that it takes away from processing time and other important duties, but its payoff is recognized in the end. I took a number of notes, so I'm going to try and probably just cherry pick a little bit. The issues that you're facing, I'll say to everybody, aren't unique to Port Orchard. I know the county faces the same issues, especially with re-inspections, and a lot of the other issues that you described are common amongst jurisdictions. But I'll go into building permit, building inspections, and I understand that having those inspections not ready to be acted on, it was a big deal. And we talked about, maybe there's a way we can disincentivize that. And then you mentioned that maybe it would be for our frequent flyers, but not for the mom and pops. And I'd push back a little bit on that, just that the mom and pops had to go through a paperless cycle to get to where they are. So they should be kind of in tune with what's needed. But I guess where I was headed was, why don't we try and write in some code that's at your discretion, director's discretion, as to whether an additional disincentivization fee or something like that.
It may be he just wants to communicate that change before he makes it, so that you guys get phone calls and you're wondering, what the heck was he thinking?
Yeah.
Is that not
well, there's two issues. There's one that is forcing people to use the portal, which we could make exceptions for people who are struggling to use the portal, but and that could require a code revision to allow me that discretion. But the other one is more of a policy where we just would not reschedule anybody who's failed for not being ready for a day or two, and basically make them wait, and then they can spend that time making sure that they are ready to pass on that next inspection.
And you could do that administratively.
I believe we could do that administratively, yes.
So I like that approach as well. I like the disincentivization for not being ready by saying you've got to wait. I don't know about 48 hours, but maybe 36 hours. So they can't try and capture it the next day, but they have to go 2 days out. Was this process just about building permits, or was it about all of your permit types?
This was just mapping the single family new construction permits. And when we wrote the charter, we needed to be narrow, and it would have taken way longer than the 18 hours in a workshop that we spent over 3 days as a team to look at all of the permit types. But I think there is an opportunity to potentially do this again and look at another permit type. But we felt like the single family permit was a good, it kind of touched all of the areas of our system, but wasn't overly complex and would help us identify the most things in the shortest amount of time.
Okay.
I think many of these tools, though, are things we recognize correlate to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It was just trying to narrow the scope of what we're looking at in process.
Totally get it. And SFRs are bread and butter, so it makes sense. The other thing that I'll mention, then I'll let others take a turn, is in terms of new software. I know that the county's looking at it. SmartGov certainly, fit in time, and it's clunky when compared to some other newer software applications that are out there right now. And so I guess my word of advice would be to coordinate with other jurisdictions, because as you know, we've got to mine each other's data for the buildable lands report and land capacity and all that. So I think it'd be useful if maybe at LUTAP we talked about some of this as well. But I think there are some other software applications that we've looked at that would be amazing, but to the tune of $400,000. So, and that caused you to step back a little bit. So
yeah, certainly. And before we get to, this is going to help create capacity if we can streamline the process, but it isn't the silver bullet. We recognize that we have some staff needs. At least one, I think, that should be considering it in the mid-year review process. So we'd love to rely less on consultants and keep waiting for the economy to slow down, and it has in many jurisdictions, but it certainly hasn't here. And so I think it might be time to put some more resources into this so that we can touch our own stuff a little more often than consultants doing it. So others have thoughts. John, I said, say you.
Sure.
Thank you for the presentation. Great presentation. I don't know that I'm as worried, and at some point I want to digest some more of your takeaways. How did you feel about the process? How did the team respond? How talk to me a little bit about mindset going into it versus what we came away with.
Well, I'll share that through this process, and when I went to put together the presentation for you all, I was on the state auditor's website looking for, kind of the background information on what we did. And I saw that they had, the auditor also offers a free team building workshop. And so we have taken the auditor up on that. The finance department is going to do the afternoon, and I'm going to do the morning in late October, where they're going to come out and facilitate some team building. And I think that it was apparent through this exercise that was probably needed. We have had a change in permit center management effective July 1st or June 28th, I think. So we have somebody new at the helm, and I think that because some of our reviewers are in public works and then the rest of the staff is entirely in my department, there isn't as good of communication between those two areas. And I would say if there was frustration or any heated discussion in the exercise, it was probably between public works staff that was in the room and the DCD staff. And so I think there is room for improvement there, but I think it was also a really professional exercise. And I don't think anybody left having not learned something new about an area of what we do, but not within their direct purview. So I think it kind of brought everybody together and gave everybody just a better understanding of roles.
You feel like most of them would all say time well spent?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
Yeah.
And I don't know as much. So we learned about this process at Action Days. Actually, I did. The state auditor, they came and spoke about this. And so I know we had kind of talked about it. I'm super excited to hear you're going to take the next step. Will they come back? Can you do this more than once? Would you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And we can there's no limit to how often we can do this. I suggested that maybe when things are slower in the winter that we do this again and look at our land disturbing activity permits that Public Works handles, or possibly some other area of our operation, or maybe another department wants to utilize it. But it was time well spent and just really beneficial for me.
Awesome.
I learned a lot about the details of what my organization is doing that I don't touch on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
so,
no, I'm
great.
super excited to hear that. I know something I was kind of beating the drum at last year's retreat. And so I'm still looking at your process map here. I used to live in that world. I'm now thankful that I don't have to live in that world every day, but it really does make a huge difference. And then when getting into some of the meat and potatoes, the one thing that kind of, and I think I heard you say something, and we may have skipped that, or didn't skip, but glossed over it. You said almost every SFR has 4 failed inspections.
Well, 4 out of 9 will fail. So ranking,
And that's in general. Is that just an education piece? Is it what is causing that? Because I know while that's a frustration maybe on the builder side, it's got to be a frustration for staff too. Is it all just them not being ready, as you had said, and scheduling that ahead of time?
No, I think I'll share an anecdote from one of our staff members. We have a staff member who did work for a private developer at one time, and one of the stories that she told during this process was that one of the builders they worked with would basically apply for permits in different jurisdictions to sort of test them to see what they would catch, looking for the easy jurisdiction to basically be able to do things faster, cheaper, and cutting corners. And so I think that a lot of times some builders will call for an inspection hoping that the inspector just points out a few things rather than actually doing the work of making sure that they're ready and walking their entire site. The project manager should be doing a full site walk before every inspection, looking for deficiencies. And I think the tradespeople are saying we're done, and they call in the inspection and just let us find the problems rather than taking responsibility and being ready themselves.
Nice. Well, thank you, Director Bond, for being the first guinea pig for us and kind of blazing the trail. And I hope other directors will follow suit. Thank you.
Another element to your question there too that we've recognized is, we can't hire it's a workforce issue. Okay. It's in the construction industry. It's, the engineers we're hiring are right out of college, and we're having to train our own. And that's happening out in the building industry too. And so there's an element of everybody's needing to learn and improve their, and learn their skills. And so that, I think, contributes to it too. So Councilmember Chang.
Well, Nick, thank you for the presentation. It was a lot more interesting than I was anticipating. I've been through this process and it can be mind-numbingly just abstract. I do hope that you get to streamline the software workflow because it sounded like there are nightmares between Camino and SmartGov. I'd also urge you to keep the user's point of view in that whatever is the most user-friendly. And I was wondering, do you think the departments are feeling a little isolated being in different locations?
Yeah, I think there's some of that. I think it is challenging when you have reviewers at City Hall, reviewers at 600 Kitsap, and reviewers at 720 Prospect. And, we've looked at how we can arrange the desks, and either, early on we talked about, could we fit all of the people who do plan review into one space so that they can communicate? But that meant that their managers and the employees weren't in the same place. And so either you're having a management disconnect or you're having a communication disconnect between staffers. And I think people have gotten pretty good at working remotely. And so communicating via email and Teams, and, we have when we do our review, we have a matrix for each project, and each person goes in there and enters their comments. And I think we're pretty used to it by now, but certainly being able to just yell across the hall to somebody would improve things, but that's not an easy fix.
I'll wait my turn. Wait a little bit later.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Either one of you.
Oh, I'm kind of curious. Yeah, this was a good presentation just to learn more. And in this permitting and with the single families, do you have like a checklist where you give a builder or something, so when they say, okay, you get one inspection, or if you fail it, then it will cost you a setback, and so they look at it on a piece of paper for the whole permitting process, and it's a checklist of going boom, 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 boom.
Well, we use a lot of checklists for different purposes. I don't know that I don't actually know where we communicate that you get 2 inspections. At each inspection, you get 2 chances to pass before you have to pay the fee. It's in our fee resolution, and I think all of the builders who are repeat customers know that. We don't have a lot of people building single-family homes who are not repeat customers. I mean, it's really infrequent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure that there's a communication issue to solve with the checklist there. But Camino, the system where we create the application essentially is a checklist. You tell it, you answer questions, and it helps tell you what applications you need. And it basically functions as a checklist to help you get all of the forms completed that you need and get them submitted and be as complete as possible. Versus if we didn't have Camino and we just used the SmartGov portal and people were submitting in SmartGov, there really isn't that navigator that helps you ensure that you're doing the right thing. It'll let you submit any amount of garbage, and we get a submittal that we then have to review and just kick out because it's a poor quality submittal. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, we're using checklists all over in our department.
When it comes to like small business, I know you're just doing family, but just a question on small businesses. Are you doing Camino on that too?
We are, and I was going to report on this, but it isn't related to single family housing, but we did learn that in Camino, the descriptions, when you go to select which type of application you wanted to fill out, you can enter more text than what we've entered. And we realized that we could be more communicative. And so we have updated those today. We looked at the county's example. The county had more information on their Camino platform than we did. And so if you click on certificate of occupancy, now it says this is when you need to use this permit, and it has much more detail than it did initially. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's going to help things. We've also asked Josh, our communications contractor, to help us develop a website for new businesses, because we don't actually have a page on our website for people who are starting a new business, and it's like, this is what you need to know before you sign a lease kind of information. So we've requested that Josh meet with our plan reviewers, the permit center, and start laying the groundwork for a website that we can hopefully point people to and get in front of some of these issues. We're also our Permit Center Manager, there is a software called Scribe where you can basically record tutorials where you're navigating through a website and showing people how to use that website. It's not very expensive, but it would allow us to upload videos onto our website that can be instructional and say, this is how you apply for this type of permit, and explain step by step what it is that you need to do. And so that's something we're looking at doing as well.
Okay, thank you.
What Nick mentioned there too is a good segue. We've been leaning on Josh a lot. You're seeing a lot more communication. He's involved in this process. So don't be surprised. You know, we have a biennial budget. I don't have a budget problem right now, but to continue to utilize Josh to this level, we're going to need to put some more resources into that bucket. Not a lot of money, but otherwise,
I think the council has been asking for that.
Yeah.
So yes.
I just making sure you're
Good.
aware of it. So go ahead, Charlie.
Well, just to augment what Nick had said, in addition, for small businesses that are not new but are going through a renovation or a remodel, the building official is working on a step-by-step guide on how to get those renovation permits most effectively and efficiently. And that'll be incorporated into the website.
Go ahead, Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, Nick. Thanks. I definitely know by sitting through some of those process, it's actually more entertaining being in them. You know, that you're dealing with your own work environment and workload, and you're seeing all that you can cut out of it. So it's definitely helpful. I actually eliminated about 2 months of work from duplicating through our department. So it's terrific. Smart Gov. Why can't they update that out in the field?
They don't have devices in the field for entering inspection results. I mean, they could try to do it on their phone, but I think typing in
laptops and license and
no
access and
no. We have, I don't recall how many licenses we have, but they would need mobile data and a device to enter it in the field, an iPad or something. But I think it is more efficient for them. They can enter their results faster from a desktop than I think they can from a laptop in the field. But we did have some conversations about whether that would make sense. The inspectors didn't seem to think it would make them faster. They thought they would do fewer inspections every day because they would be out in the field typing in inspection results rather than being able to do it at their desk at the end of the day.
Yeah, just my own experience. So they're taking notes out in the field from all the inspections, and then they're bringing that out back to the.
Yeah, we do triplicate inspection correction forms, and so when you write the notice, you hand one copy to the builder, and then you keep a copy that you take back to the office, and then I think there's one goes in the file.
Couldn't you do it out in the field on your computer or your tablet, and a software program will kick out the results to the contractor?
Yeah, you definitely could.
They would receive it electronically too, and it's Smart Gov. I mean, it is live. I mean, once you input it, it is live. You could do that out in the field. You're not duplicating work that way as well. And I'd raise my hand to give your guys whatever they need, you know, so that they have more out in the field.
Yeah, we had some conversations about that, but I can relay that that there's support for doing that, and we'll put it in our mid-year budget if we need to ask for resources to do that.
And do your inspectors do the plan reviews as well, or are they just straight inspectors?
One of our inspectors does a lot of plan review. One of them does really basic level plan review, and so, but yeah, and then some of it's done by consultants. It just depends on volume and availability. So when we don't have a lot of inspections in a day, they will be doing plan reviews. If we have a lot of inspection, we start sending things to the consultant.
Okay, I was wondering if you needed us to try to get another plan reviewer so they can be out in the field more or whatnot. What would help you more?
Well, the mayor alluded to this, but I think what we're talking about asking for in the mid-year budget is a combination commercial residential inspector. And part of our issue is that when people have problems, they want to come and talk to somebody at the office who has technical expertise. The person with the most technical expertise is out in the field doing combination inspections for commercial and multifamily, the stuff our junior inspectors aren't trained to do. One of our inspectors is starting to do the multifamily. I think they're both starting to do multifamily, but the building official is having to do those inspections a lot of the time, and then they're not in the office to help people when they have questions on the phone or at the front desk. So if we can bring a combination inspector on who can take on those more challenging inspections, the building official can stay in the office doing more plan reviews and helping people with technical questions. So that's going to be the ask in the budget.
Perfect.
It's exactly what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Councilmember Rosemary.
Thank you. Nick, that was a great deep dive. Really appreciate it. Going to ask a couple of questions I don't think we touched on. One of them, where you touched on it, was about inspection failures and the need, do we give a certain amount of time? Since I'm in that world right now, I can tell you, I would love for people who aren't ready and fail an inspection to have a certain period of time, because all it does is hold up the people in the field that are ready. And that frustrates the heck out of me, having to wait 4 or 5 days to get an inspection scheduled. This is not inside of Port Orchard where we've been doing our remodels lately. So, I also work in Pierce also. So don't start taking it there. Second thing is, I would go with the credit card, make it transparent in our fees. The mail is an issue. We've seen that before. That's my personal opinion. A lot of businesses right now are building that into their billing, and I would go that way. I'm really appreciative that you continued discussions with KVA. We may not always see eye to eye, but I think it's definitely, I appreciate you getting their input and see where they may have ways to streamline the system. You may have looked at this, but one of the things we looked at a place where I was formerly employed, we looked at calendar bottlenecks also. You were talking about in, winter when things slow down, is there things that possibly could shift to free up time during the summer months when it's busier? I don't know. I'm just saying is sometimes we look at calendar and see if there's bottlenecks there. Part of the elephant in the room for me, and I don't know whether you've talked about or addressed it, and when we had our discussion talking about DCD, one of the things that we talked about was customer service interaction. There was a certain amount of frustration. Some of that may be because of the processes. Some of it may be people having a bad day on either side of the counter, but I don't know if that's something you're looking at to push down a little bit too. Thanks.
Yeah, just on the customer service side, those are conversations that we're having. They're separate from the lean process, but we are, we're sort of, I guess, reaffirming our that it's our mission, and we have to ask probing questions of applicants to make sure that we're giving them the right information, and we can't just say, go look at something online. It has to be, we have to be as helpful as possible at the counter, and we're addressing that separately.
Okay, appreciate you taking a look at that and continue to look at how we phrase things. Thank you, Nick.
Councilmember Trenary.
Last but not least, Jay, thanks for that last little bit.
I thought it's there too. Last part.
I appreciate you getting that add in there. Nick, there's nothing we can tell you up here that you obviously haven't learned already, because you did a very thorough search and identified some process issues. The one thing that I found kind of concerning was that hadn't been a lot of software training in several years, and different industry, but holy smokes, that puts a tough burden on your staff to try to learn from people who aren't even in the same room as you anymore, best ways of doing things. So I'd really urge you to take a look at hiring the software companies and bringing them in. You mentioned this, bringing them in. It'll improve processes, it'll improve productivity, and most importantly, it'll improve your morale too, because your employees will know that you care about them enough to try to give them the tools they need to do the job better for you. So, but great job. Thanks for the presentation.
All right. Got me another bite of the apple.
Another couple, if that's okay.
All right.
So in terms of time tracking, you had talked about this a little bit, and I've always felt it's important to track your time, and I work for the county, so I'll just say that we track time on our permits, not necessarily the type 1s, but the type 2s and 3s, and then we look at how many hours are spent on those permit applications, and if there's a trend over 3 years, we'll raise a fee or we'll reduce the fee, and we've seen fees reduced for flats and similar. You had talked about a time tracker for each of your permit types. Was that automated? Is that what you were saying? Or will SmartGov know that you spent an hour working on that project and track it for you?
No, this is purely to comply with our reporting requirements. When we hit a population of 20,000, we're required to report on how we're doing in performance relative to the statutory deadlines for various permit types. And so we have turned that feature on, but it does require that the plan reviewer manually, mark something as deficient so that it stops the clock and triggers the notice to go out to the applicant.
Okay. You had talked earlier about pre-populating conditions, and I just think that it's better to have those pre-populated and walk back the ones that don't make sense rather than trying to do it in the reverse. That's my experience. A couple other things. When we talk about inspections, have you contemplated virtual inspections where somebody's putting in a water tank, for example, and they just need to show you with an iPad as they walk around all sides and the bubble test, I guess, on the lines, that kind of stuff.
We dabbled with this a little bit during the pandemic, and I don't think it is effective for most things. There may be a one-off inspection that could be virtual, but I think they're probably so far and few and far between that I don't know that it makes sense to invest in the technology that's needed to do that. I assume it's just a Teams call, but somebody's got to have a camera with a high enough resolution, and I think that sometimes somebody will call in a permit and you'll see all kinds of other work that's being done that isn't permitted. And
that's
so it's,
yeah, it has its utility more for like the very discrete improvement you're trying to make. And if you are curious, Pierce County probably has the best examples of how that could work. The other thing that I'm wondering is, are you looking at Lean Six Sigma and trying to get people like yellow belt status for process improvement, for continual process improvement?
We haven't talked about that yet. I mean, this is really our first step into this world, and I think we'll probably continue using the free auditor provided assistance for now, but it's something we could look at in the future. If we stay as busy as we've been for the last few years, I think it makes sense. I just don't know how much longer this current pace is going to continue.
Right. The value of having somebody trained as a yellow belt is when they see something that needs process improvement, they can lean into that right away. And they can either propose what we call a just do it, or they can propose an improvement programs like what you just went through. And so I think having people with an eye towards those kinds of improvements that have been trained towards that could be helpful. And then the next step is green belts, where your staff would actually own the process for doing that. And then, Mark, you had talked about training. I know that it can be difficult to bring in SmartGov for training when you hire somebody brand new. And so I think the goal is to try and have SmartGov train the trainer so that you got forward new staff when they come in and have to start using SmartGov. I presume you have somebody there who's more of an expert than others.
Yeah, we have a couple of experts, and that's what we've been doing is they have been training our new hires. But I think touching on the software every, probably 2 years and just having a facilitated training for a half day is money well spent, because I think people, people forget what they learned in training. Maybe they talk to other staff about how to do things, and processes morph. So, it's certainly time to do a training, and then at what interval going forward, I think we need to talk about the value and see what our turnover is as well.
Okay, and then my last comment is if you're going to bring in SmartGov to do some in-person training, maybe check with the other jurisdictions who use SmartGov at the same level that Port Orchard does. Might help share the costs.
Yeah, I just through our conversation, do we have one person full-time taking the information from Camino and putting it into SmartGov? Would we free up an FTE there? I guess what I'm trying to say is it's an API is what we need, right? To connect one to another. And I don't speak for the 7 of them, but I'm one to tell you, if you find out what that cost is, bring it back as quickly as possible. I know you're checking with the county, but I think a lot of times having something like that built is way more reasonable than sometimes we think. Mm-hmm. So that's my 2 cents on that.
We have 2 permit techs who are taking that on right now, and our permit center manager previously was doing that, but now she's moved into the new role, and so she's training the permit techs on how to do that, how to fill that role.
But so if we found a software that just connected one to the next,
Mhm.
we'd be freeing up 2 FTEs. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well,
Ish.
FTEs do a lot of things.
They do other things. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
they
what
do
I
a
was
lot of-
trying to get that clarity. Okay, I didn't know if
If
that's
they
what
did that all day, they could probably do 12 or 15 of them, but they're answering phones and,
Okay.
and they do have technical knowledge in codes, not high level commercial, codes, but they can answer technical code questions and they get called for that sort of stuff all the time.
I think part of our analysis is too, I don't know that we want to do that right now because we're trying to evaluate, is this the right piece of software? Should we be using this one? Or should be completely something else? And so.
What I think I'm trying to say is, again, I don't speak for everybody. It's been my experience, something like that's probably in the $10,000 range. And that to me would be worth it today to help solve that while we buy ourselves some time to look at the bigger elephant in the room picture. My 2 cents.
We're ready to move on to the next slide.
Mhm.
Okay, Nick's going to talk about development activity.
Take a breath.
All right. So every year or so, I've been giving you a presentation just on the development activity that you're seeing around the city. I wanted to walk you through. This is mainly private development. I don't have city projects on here. The presentation has gotten a little bit shorter recently as we've seen some projects finished. And there's a couple new ones in here. So I'm just going to walk you through starting with, see if I can get the slides to advance here. There we go. So Kitsap Bank, obviously, we've been talking about this for a long time. It's going hand in hand with the Community Event Center. Their building permit application is still pending. They have applied for their shoreline substantial development permit and received their shoreline permit. So they are part of a phasing plan that allows them to have shoreline permits through the year 2032. I am certainly hopeful that their project moves forward sooner than that, but they are currently working on some revisions to their plans, and they've made some decisions about teleworking, and so they're kind of truing up their staffing needs and making sure that the space that they have designed is exactly right for what they need going forward. So hopefully we'll have some announcements from Kitsap Bank here before the end of the year. 429 Bay Street, this is the project that you see going up just a few blocks from City Hall on the waterfront. Obviously, this picture was taken a few weeks ago because they have topped out at the 4th story is now on there. This is our first mixed-use building that we have built since I've been here. There is a small mixed-use space on the waterfront side that is I think it's under 1,000 square feet, but it does have room for a small business and looks right out over the waterfront. So it's exciting to see this one going. I think the shoreline permits were issued in 2019, and they were waiting for some environmental cleanup, and then also PSE had to move some power poles that were on their property and not in easements, and so that took a long time to resolve. The Forest Song project, this is up on Melcher. You heard some testimony on this a couple meetings ago. This is 192 apartment units, and this project's been in the works for a while, but they finally broke ground and are I would say probably going to wrap up next fall. The Kitsap Transit Park and Ride.
Can you go back because I went to that slide. It's important, some of the concerns that were raised were about sidewalk improvements, and this does have complete street on both sides of that project. So.
Yeah, we realized that this is an older graphic and didn't show the sidewalks coming around. I think those sidewalks are actually in the right of way, and so they're on a different plan set than this page, but you will have frontage improvements all the way around that block.
I think the other thing we asked about was it going to be landscape? Because right now, when you drive by that wall, it's pretty dominant.
Yeah,
there's a landscape strip on the street, I believe. Certainly on Melcher, I think also on Sherman. So the Kitsap Transit Park and Ride, we are still probably looking at construction in 2026. They have secured all the property rights that are needed for construction. I think they own all but one of the properties, but have secured the use of the other property while they finish that transaction. The lift station design on that property is nearing completion, and there is both a development agreement proposed here as well as a latecomer agreement for the sewer lift station. Out at Stetson Heights, they are wrapping that project up. I mentioned they submitted 50-something permits here before the code changed on July 1st. So they have applied, I think, for all of the lots in both Stetson Heights and Stetson Ridge now. There were 412 total lots, and the final 108 lots in the Ridge are either underway or in permitting at this time. And I would expect maybe a year or so until this is totally wrapped up. Adjacent to Stetson Heights, we just took in a preliminary plat application for McCormick East. This is owned by the McCormick Land Company. This is Doug Skrobot's group, not associated with McCormick Communities, who is now developing McCormick Woods West and North. This is a 159 lot subdivision. It ties the roads and utilities into Stetson Heights, and they are, I believe we just issued comments on this, and we're going to be waiting for revisions on the layout, but another single family project that has come into the city. In McCormick Woods, this is an older graphic and doesn't represent the current lot layout, but it does clearly identify the parcel letters for parcels F, H, J, K, L, and 6 phases remaining in McCormick Woods, all on the right side of the screen here. And this is M is the big green parcel at the bottom of the page, and this is as you head out McCormick Woods Drive towards Glenwood Road. Eventually, St. Andrews will connect all the way around to the Eldon Trails area to the north along the east side of the property, and that road will form a complete loop through the neighborhood. And so several of these projects are in for review right now. They've designed a sewer lift station to serve this area that's in for review. And I would expect maybe the first of these phases will start moving forward next summer. And that's a total of 597 lots. McCormick West, the aerial photo on the right really shows the areas that have been platted. We've finished divisions 11 through 14 in terms of getting lots recorded, but there are several other divisions. 2 of them, 15 and 18, are being cleared right now, and site development is just getting started. And I believe there are 23 total divisions here. For some reason, they started at number 11 and ended at 23. So 12 total divisions, but they're 11 through 23 are the numbers. And eventually that there will be a loop road that goes all the way around McCormick West that has a grade separated pedestrian pathway that's, I think, 1.5 miles or 2 miles in length. And so you'll have a nice pedestrian facility that loops through the neighborhood. And there are still, I think, about 1,100 homes remaining, or 1,100 lots remaining in there to be platted.
Nick, if I could interrupt for a minute.
Yeah.
If you have a chance, council, I suggest driving through there. They are building at a tremendously rapid rate. I went the bike one day, one week, went following week, and there was 2 houses that were already up. Obviously not complete, but I was absolutely amazed how much they had built out that area. So it's well worth taking a look at if you think the building's slowing down here. Thank you.
All right, and I think we've talked quite a bit about McCormick Village, but again, there's 20,000 square feet of retail, and then about 400 housing units. It's a mix of single-family homes, accessory dwelling units, fourplexes, and 8plexes. And the central area of this is now in for review. The western portion will be coming in as a future submittal. These are some of the houses with ADUs that have been completed recently. Another announcement I wanted to share, there is another park going in, as well as the northwest entrance to McCormick Village Park. When you're heading up what used to be Campus Parkway, it's now McCormick Village Drive. This clearing where the red dot is on the screen here is the site of some new pickleball courts that are going in, and that area has been totally landscaped, and I think the pickleball courts are just about done. There is parallel on-street parking here for, I think, 30 or 40 cars. So when the splash pad is in use on those hot summer days, people can park on this road and walk into the park from the northwest, and hopefully that will prevent people from parking along Old Clifton Road. And so a ribbon cutting for the pickleball courts here in August. And that is a public entrance to the park there, the trail that comes in right near the pickleball courts. The pickleball courts for now will remain in HOA ownership. Over on the east side of town, we have a couple of projects, which is the northern area of clearing, and then the Riverstone Housing Kitsap project, which is 39 lots. Those are both still active. Bridgestone was just purchased by a new developer. The previous developer, they had 8 or 9 projects in the South Puget Sound, and they went bankrupt about a year ago. And so this has been picked up and is now moving forward again. And so I think you'll see those projects go forward soon. Also, here at the south end of Harold Drive, there's a little triangle that used to be forested, and now it is cleared with 24 apartments being constructed. The project that you see when you're driving on Lund, they are going to be punching Harold through so that you will have access to this neighborhood. Well, the neighborhood will have access to Lund. It's going to be a right in, right out. And so we may see some cut through traffic, but I would expect that this is mostly going to be used by the neighbors. And the pork chop that's installed here with signage that says no left turns is supposed to prevent left turn movements. And if that, we'll see how that works out. The police may have to do some enforcement out there. The Home Depot project is still moving forward. I'm still waiting for some exhibits from Home Depot to accompany their development agreement, which I'm trying to bring to the city council this fall. As soon as I have those, we can get the development agreement processed, and then they still need to decide, are they going to try to build their store before we do our Bethel project, or do they want to wait until our Bethel project is done? Right now, Bethel is slated for construction in 2027, and so they have been a little wishy-washy on when they want to proceed with their project. The Salmonberry Apartments just broke ground. This is right next to the Home Depot site, and the road providing access to the Salmonberry Apartments also punches through to Home Depot and is part of our Bethel Commercial Connector project, which will tie the road that goes through Walmart and Safeway all the way through to Salmonberry, which creates some parallel circulation to Bethel and alleviates traffic on Bethel. This was 28 apartments, and it did receive a multifamily tax exemption certificate before that program was repealed. So they have a preliminary approval for the MFTE. The final approval doesn't come until they complete the project. Hidden Hills Apartment has been on our list for a while. This project is still alive. They did pick up the land disturbing activity permit in May, so they now have a year to call for their first inspection before the permits would expire. My understanding is there are several interested buyers in this project, but they're waiting to complete the transaction before they're going to do any sort of work out here. So it seems like the project is still probably going to go forward, but this one I'm a little less certain on. If the economy were to slow down, maybe that one doesn't proceed. We also received an application for the Blueberry Apartments Phase 2. Phase 1 was just to the south of the green parcel here at the corner of Blueberry and Bethel. The same builder has now purchased there was a house on a large piece of land, and they are coming in with another 102 apartments here. Although the discussion of multifamily tax exemptions, they are interested in potentially increasing their density and adding units to this if they can qualify for an incentive. So they also weren't aware that our zoning changed on July 1st, and that if they want to go taller, they can go taller than what was allowed here previously. So this may change a little bit before permits are issued. One of the last projects on my presentation, this is the Myers-Sedgwick property, the Ramsey Apartments, where the Starbucks was recently built. This is another project that received a multifamily tax exemption preliminary approval. There are 99 units in a mixed-use building that are proposed. This is the elevation drawing of the building. This is one of the few projects we're seeing where parking is actually underneath the building, and there is commercial space in addition to the multifamily units. They're in, I think, a second or third review of their building permit application, and I think their architect has been somewhat slow to turn around the revisions, and hopefully we will get this one issued in the near future. So this is just a graph showing the distribution of units. We have way more single family projects in the pipeline at this point in time. Our multifamily projects have mostly been built. There are still several out there. And then there's the 400 units of middle housing at McCormick Village that are on the list, and only a handful of commercial projects in the city at this time. And that's the end of that presentation.
Questions for Mr. Bond? A lot of information. I know a couple of your committees have already seen this presentation, so it's not new information, but I wanted to share it with the public and full council.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our business item. We have one tonight. and its adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Active Construction Inc. for the Sydney Non-Motorized Improvement Project. And Chris Hammer is filling in for Dennis Ryan this evening.
The city identified the need for the Sydney Road Non-Motorized Improvement Project to improve pedestrian safety and accessibility along the Sydney Road corridor through the construction of sidewalks, drainage upgrades, and pedestrian-related infrastructure. The project is funded through a $1,394,750 award from the Washington State Safe Routes to School program, accepted by the council back in October 12, 2021. With design complete, the city published an invitation to bid in the Kitsap Sun and Daily Journal of Commerce on June 30th and July 7th of this year, and released project documents via Washington Builder Exchange and the city's website. Bids were due by July 15th of this year at 2 p.m. A total of 8 bids were received and publicly opened. The lowest responsible qualified bidder was Active Construction Incorporated, with a total bid of $2,724,724, including applicable taxes. City staff reviewed all submitted bids and confirmed compliance with applicable public works contracting requirements. On July 15, 2025, Public Works staff recommended MSRC mandatory bidder responsibly reviewed the checklist and verified the bid submitted by Active Construction Incorporated was the lowest responsible, and qualified bid. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute the Public Works contract with Active Construction Incorporated for the Sydney Road Non-Motorized Improvement Project.
Councilmember Warden.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a Public Works contract with Active Construction for the Sydney Road Non-Motorized Improvement Project.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Warden, a second by Councilmember Diener. Kind of an exciting moment. Last year we built those pedestrian improvements in front of the middle school, and now we're going to continue that project where we stopped and take it all the way to Hubdy Road and complete similar improvements in front of the grade school. So very nice. So Councilmember Rose Pepe.
So Mayor, if I got this right, we're still under budget on this.
Yes,
moving forward, this looks really positive.
Yeah, we got really good bids on this.
Right.
Really excited about that.
A high number of bids too.
Yes, that's great. Other comments or questions? All right, you'll be voting on a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Active Construction for the Sydney Non-Motorized Improvement Project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The contract has been approved. And just to note, Active Construction is the same contractor that built Tremont for us.
Yes.
So a very good contractor. All right, we've got a few discussion items tonight that a couple of them trailed from last week's lengthy work study. The first is, in the spring, we had the strategic planning exercise, and there's desire by the council to have a downtown revitalization grant program. So I tasked Charlie with looking into the legalities of that. She found examples in other communities, that do this. I think what I gathered from you guys, looking at potential frontage improvements in buildings, I think decision points we still have to have. Is there a match? And then if if this is something you want to move forward with, then we've got to put some dollars in that mid-year review. And I have talked to the owners of the theater, and they are interested in utilizing this in particular for the removal of the marquee. And then they would need to, I think they've got weather protection, but I think anybody doing that type of improvement to their building, I think our code does require that you provide weather protection, so that would be part of this process. So Charlie, you want to add on to what I missed?
I think that covers it. From a legal risk perspective, or not a legal risk, but a legal perspective, we would need to have a policy associated with the program. So if council provided us with parameters, we could put that in place. And from the finance department's perspective, that policy would need to be very specific about the financial aspects of that grant and clawback and all of those sorts of things. So with your direction, we can go ahead and move forward with preparing that grant program if you are comfortable with the concept.
I think the safest way to do something like this is a reimbursement, but that makes that property owner front those costs. But, you know, and probably I would hope that they have some skin in the game, that we're not funding 100%. So, but I want to hear from you guys and what you guys want. So Councilmember Rosenpip.
Well, first of all, you know, we do have signage and policy on signage and that, so I'm not too worried about that. I think the main thing that I would like to see is I would like to see some skin in the game. Whether it's 25% or $1 per dollar, I'm open to anything, but I think there has to be some skin in the game.
So I'm hearing anywhere from 50 to 25% skin in the game.
Yep.
From you.
Yep.
And others have thoughts on that? Councilmember.
I'm a little slow on parts of this, and I had a question for Charlie about the prohibition on the gift of public funds. So that's saying that no local funds can be used except for the poor or infirm. And I'm paraphrasing very quickly, but so what local funds would we be using for this program?
Our general fund.
So it would come from the general fund?
Yes, it would.
Correct. So just like in the times of COVID, we were allowed to utilize funds for business assistance. And those programs in large part cannot solely utilize local funds for private benefit. But if we develop a policy that speaks to the benefits that this funding gives to the downtown revitalization as a whole, so the attractiveness to tourism that assists the city and all participants in the city's economy, we can build a program that navigates the gift of public funds doctrine successfully. So that the prohibition on gift of public funds isn't simply no, you cannot use money except for the poor and infirm. There needs to be a public nexus. There's sort of a second step to that analysis. If it's not one of those classes, then is there some other form of valid expenditure attached to this? And we do have case law in the state and examples in the state where it's used for a different type of public purpose, but still through a formalized grant program.
And so one further question too is, should we limit this to facade and frontage improvements? That I think it's to thread that needle. I think it needs to be somewhat of a beautification and tourism. So,
Right.
Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you guys looking into this. This is the number one question I consistently get out there in the community. But the actual question is why aren't we doing anything about it? And so I explained to them that we don't have a hammer. And by being a code enforcer and things I do for a living, and it's easier to incentivize and try and get them on board. And if it is a portion, a percentage, a match, I'm down for the conversation with the building owners of what would it take them to move, as far as move forward on this. It's great for downtown. We need to do something to incentivize them to clean it up, to move forward. I think a good start would be to focus on refacing the frontage. From there, see how it goes. Maybe the backside too. You know, but we'll start there. It's a great step. It's a great step away from originally when we first talked about it and was like, we can't do this. But looking into it, there are ways, and there are, if there's means to do it, I'm definitely, I'd like to find a way to have the business owners have a conversation with them. Instead of just doing a policy right away that just gets kicked back. It'd be nice to have some sort, whoever has a relationship with them in the city to start the conversation. Obviously, we know who in the public has relationships with them, and if it means reaching out to Gary, reaching out to people that have relationships with them. It's a great start. So I appreciate you looking into this.
That's for Peter.
So thank you, Eric. That was very well put. I too think that the frontage improvements, facade improvements are important. You stand downtown, you look left, you look right. That's what you see, and you want those buildings to look nice. And some of them may be beyond recovery, even with a heavy power spring. I don't know, but something needs to be done there. So I'm all about facade. I would like the marquee to be addressed at some point, and then Main Street revitalization. I really am down for that. We're going to have to perhaps sit on that for a little bit until things get developed as they can be in the next few years.
And the merchants are starting down that path. They've really got to mobilize themselves and start their nonprofit, and they've started that path. But it's a couple of years.
For sure
to make that happen.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Thank you very much for your work on this.
Councilmember Fenton?
Yeah, actually, that was going to be kind of the good of the order to ask about that, because I remember we had a work study and we wanted to get together with the business owners down there, the landlords. And so, yes, I think to get this revitalization going, and then really to sit down with those guys, kind of sentiments of, what you were saying, to have that talk, because we're not going to do it all on our own. So we need that partnership with the owners.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you're asking for my input, I think it's a great start to something that I think can be transformational for the city. I just came from a meeting before this KETA board meeting over in Bremerton, and the end of it was they literally took us out of the room and finished the meeting down on 4th Street, which is now called Quincy Square. And so I think, being long-winded here, somebody had a vision more than 10 years ago, right? It was longer than that, because before I moved to this state, and I got to be a part of that process over the last 12 years to see something like that come to fruition, that's going to be an absolute game changer for downtown Bremerton. They're bringing online another building now because of it's not all because of that, because the shipyard needs to move outside of its gates too. It's going to bring 600 new people daily to their downtown. That kind of money being spent in their shops, and it just builds momentum. So I think this is a start. I think to put some better clarity on what I heard out of Councilmember Fenton, I'd like to do a town hall, a work study with the folks who might be out there doing that work to see what is their pinch point. What would that look like when I hear a match? Is that dollar for dollar? Is that in kind? Can they go out, and if we have the dollars and they can find the manpower to do the work, do we count that? I think there are things that we need to work out about all this, but I think it first starts with a conversation with the people who would be partaking in those dollars, because what good is it for us to budget it if they can't find a way to use it?
Yeah. We have to remember too, one person owns 60% of our downtown too. So we definitely need to, reach out to Mutzer and because he's a big part of this, Councilor Rose.
Yeah, just a quick second bite at the apple. When we're focusing on downtown, I would also ask that we kind of keep an open mind to further down the road that this program is also maybe applicable to other areas of Port Orchard. So when we kind of craft it, with that in mind. So we're just not limiting and making people feel like they're excluded. So because there's a lot of businesses here, and there may be other opportunities just as we craft a policy on how this may interact. I agree we need to focus on downtown first. Everybody agrees with that, but we need to also keep an open mind for other businesses. Thank you.
So Charlie's got some more work to do. So I need a little more a direction here on, and so that we can try to craft something that I'm hearing frontage improvements for the focus of this.
That would be nice.
So I think where my comments, maybe I wasn't explicit when I said, I think it's just like we're building a road and we take public comment. I think we're at the point now we need public comment to give her, I think, what you're needing.
Yeah.
That
Homeowners.
what I'm feeling. I don't know if anybody else feels.
Business owners, yes. We need
The
property owners.
It's the property.
Yeah,
It's the property. It's
So
the property.
we need to get communication going with them.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to hold Oh, sorry, Fred, go ahead, please.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't want to, have Charlie do all this work, and the property owners, the main one just kick back right away and say, I'm not interested.
I'll start. with that.
Correct.
So I've talked to a couple of
Correct.
building owners that,
Yeah.
hey, yeah, I'm interested in one in particular
Yeah.
said, you know, this could be, for their historic aspect, they need the marquee removed to get their historic status. And they've got weather protection on their building already. So I know one property owner that's likely interested, but we need
all of them.
yeah. Well, I don't know that, we probably don't have the resources to do every building downtown, but if we picked off one or two a year in a program, that's progress. So Councilmember Chang.
I would just add that I think we have to be very careful that there should be a match, because I'm sure we've all heard from people who don't like the idea of subsidizing other property owners.
Yeah.
So you can hear people saying, you're spending my general fund, which should go to this, this, and this on someone else's building improvements because they, so I think there needs to be a match. We have to make sure of that.
I would agree,
Well,
but I
well,
think we
grants
also need to compel the notion that once you make these improvements, it helps the community at large and in terms of budget revenue.
We should make sure it does. Yes.
Yeah, part of the messaging.
All right. So we'll start with some engagement and then come back to these other issues.
I think that's the number one. The number one purpose is starting with that engagement with all of the property owners downtown.
Mhm.
Okay.
See
All right.
their ideas, their thoughts, their opinions.
All right. So we move on to the next slide. Okay, Community Event Center. We've got a couple of, I think, when we left the last meeting, unresolved issues related to one bathrooms and then that unused space. So, I know that some of you, that was the first time you had seen a present, been a council member when we've given a presentation. The community center was largely designed pre and during COVID, and that design was completed, and other elements of the downtown revitalization needed to catch up to where the community center was. The road project, the Orchard Street Plaza, we had shoreline permits that our consultants were helping us with. So there were multiple other aspects of the downtown revitalization that needed to catch up to where we were. In the last few months, we'd re-engaged Rice Burgess Miller because now we've got some other elements like completing the Orchard Street Plaza, the art piece that they touched on the other evening. And so there was, I definitely heard some pushback and I want to have some more dialogue. And so Brandy, if you could bring back, okay, we can start with this one. And John in particular raised some concern about where's it at in this?
Is that the bottom floor or the first floor?
I think you've got the wrong floor, Brandy.
Well,
It's for.
No,
the first floor is
You've
downstairs.
got the first.
The packet.
Okay.
There's 2 pages,
Yeah.
but they're both here.
Okay.
You just need to tell her which one you want
Yeah, we want
upstairs.
yeah, and I put it on the bias here for you
Yeah.
guys. There we go. So that top left corner, when the building was designed, and I think I spoke to this, was intended to be a co-working space. And I believe I've spoken about that business model has changed. And so John raised some concerns. He didn't want to see unprogrammed space in there. I can respect that. The idea was thrown out to move the kitchen over to that space. It would be extremely expensive to do that. That stairwell, and there's an elevator that would need to be moved. And it would also impact the spaces down below for the library. So that would be a very expensive proposition. We would gain some more capacity to the space, but what was shared with me also that by adding the occupancy load, we also add to the restroom requirements, and we would need an additional restroom in the building, which would then need to come out of some other space within the building. So if the concern is about not having unprogrammed space, we can easily turn it into another meeting room until there's a better, till we find a different or better use for it. And maybe that's the best use for it. I just knew that in this, I didn't want to spend any further dollars or build out dollars towards something that we knew wasn't going to be the right fit. So
I just want to get clarification that when we were talking about that space, that we were talking about moving all of the kitchen facilities over into that space and then opening up that what's currently programmed as kitchen as more banquet space.
Correct.
Right.
And that would require moving the stairwell now. It separates you.
Yes, that was right.
Yeah. So extremely expensive redesign.
Question.
Yes. Councilmember Rose first.
A couple things on this. One, in a previous life, I was a facilities designer for Boeing, which was not a banquet space or the community center, but we did always leave a space for potential of later use. I think that we've already seen that when we were making this a space we had allocated for it. Now, since that time, that's changed. So I think having a space that would be could be for future growth and making a meeting space, I think is a good way to go right now. Otherwise, besides the additional dollars in redesign, it'd be the additional time in building. And this project has already been not delayed, but interrupted.
It isn't really.
Not really delayed.
We've always been targeting.
I understand, but I mean, COVID's kind of a blip. But right now, it's having a space for future growth and not knowing what that is not a bad thing, because we design spaces that way, and it's in buildings, so you have growth capacity. So I'm in favor. Also, the other point I wanted to make was we're not going to really gain that much seating in the banquet area, and we're not being in competition with anybody else. We're not in competition with the convention center. We're not even we kind of slot ourselves in pretty well within the community between Whiskey Gulch and other areas. Banquet room, we're kind of like in the nice middle area that people would use it for banquets or activities. So I'm in favor of keeping this design right now. I could understand John's frustration a little bit, not having a designated use right now. But I'm saying is we might be very well surprised by the time we go that we have a designated use for that just as times change. So that would be mine, to keep it as the design as it is. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Finn, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah. Yeah, when I look at this, I look at the stairway staying put. We don't move the stairway. Oh, the stairway's right here. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, you'd have to travel from the kitchen if you moved way over there all the way down the hallway.
Okay, so here's the stairway.
Really inefficient is what the
so can't we leave that stairway there, and then you have the what is that, it's the large meeting room, and then another open space. No, I'm saying put that way over here. The kitchen is straight at the very end where the large meeting room is in that open space. And then you open all this up for more tables. If you see what I'm saying. So this is tables, and that's the kitchen. You don't move the stairway because there's that wall still there. And then I also think that for that, it says a storage room that's in the large meeting room. That turns into a toilet, and we divide, so they each get 2 or 3 toilets and 2 toilets. It's divided in half. I'm very much also concerned, and I didn't bring it up that night, but I really appreciate that you brought up, we shouldn't have that Robert Sowers. No,
we'll get to the restrooms.
Oh, is that coming too? Okay, that should be separate.
So Councilmember Fenton,
yes.
We employed a hospitality design consultant in this design, and what you think is excess storage space, it's not. All of those tables and chairs have to be stored someplace
right in here
when the event. So if we start bisecting that, then we have no place to store our tables and chairs.
About the room that goes.
That is correct.
You didn't say anything about that.
What storage were you referring to?
The one that's off of the large lounge, the large meeting room, that where it says large meeting room.
Right-hand corner.
Yeah, we turned that into the kitchen, so we have more seating area, because this only holds like 110 to 150
It's
people.
160 seating using the deck, it was over 200. So we're to move the kitchen around. We're talking $100,000 in 2 months upfront, is what I was told, and that would come out of our general fund. PFD is not going to fund our redesign. We've used all of our dollars, our design dollars with those. So I'd like to hear from others.
I've got a concern on just Councilmember Fenton's idea here. We've got an 815 square foot staging kitchen, trying to stuff it into a 487 foot large meeting room.
Well, what does that kitchen actually entail?
It's a catering kitchen that was designed by a hospitality consultant. This is what they do for a living.
Is there like a stove?
There's no cooking going on. It is prep. And so they bring things into warmers and prep stations to serve. So a caterer brings their food here that's been cooked. It's in holding stations, it's counter space, it's refrigerators, and they assemble the meals for the event in this space.
So it's not a commercial kitchen. It is
a prep kitchen. And this is the size of the space that was recommended by the consultant.
Yeah, and
be successful.
Yeah, that's their expertise. I trust that.
That's what we
hear. Yeah.
Is he done?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure if he was done, so I didn't want to step on each other. Yeah, I think, especially hearing at $100,000, I know I didn't have to look at that budget, but I mean, we're not even talking 1% of the budget of this project, right? We're not even talking 0.5% of the budget of this project. I'd like to get it right. That's my sentiments on it. I'm one of 7, as I've said multiple times tonight. I think some of the wanting to move that staging kitchen is wanting to expand that space. Feedback I've heard is we were promised something bigger, right? In fact, there was just talk this morning at our Rotary meeting about the article that was mentioned in the paper about our crab feed possibly moving here, and there's a 0% chance that would happen, right? Correct. We're well up over 350 and may outgrow the Bremerton Conference Center real soon, and have to take it up to the casino. But again, we're not trying to build this for everybody, but I am just trying to see where we can flex that. And that was the impetus. I'm not saying it has to. The feedback I'm getting is I was told this was going to be bigger and have a larger capacity. I'm just trying to help assuage that.
And that corner too, in the top right corner, has windows and has the best view.
Not ideal for a kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, it is an ideal place for something special because of the views and the windows. It's the best views in the entire building. So, Councilmember Ward, did you have thoughts?
No, not on this aspect.
Okay. Councilmember Diener.
I just want to say that I've been to several events where there's been auctions and those kinds of things. And one recently, or not too recently, but not too long ago at McCormick's, that had been raining outside. We would have been in a hard way. So I look at that space as having maybe some other options until it's programmed specifically, but like you could have that be your auction room, for example,
and
or some other.
We've got patio space, the plaza, the deck out front is being programmed to put anchor tents onto it. So we aren't limited to what we can do inside of it. The plaza and the outside space too is being designed to accommodate, to be part of this facility. So I would discourage you for time is also of the essence. We're pedaling hard to make sure that we don't. I think it would be very detrimental to us not to go to construction in 2027, and to step backwards would cost us time.
And so the 100K that's a complete redesign, moving the kitchen over, keeping the stairs where they are.
No, the stairs have to move. That, and it impacts the library. We'd have to talk to the library, and then it would impact their design downstairs.
Where would the stairs move?
That's a good question. We have,
Why do they have to move?
because the kitchen would be on the other side.
You have to step over the kitchen.
They're in the way of the kitchen.
Yeah, you step over the stairway.
They're in the way. You'd have to travel, which would be, the designers told me, very inefficient to travel all the way down the hallway.
Does where the kitchen is now, up against the banquet, is that open space? Like, is that counter space if you want it, or is it?
It's a door to get there. You can see it there at the.
No. Like, is it a counter where I can serve you over the counter?
No, it is not.
It's not.
It is not. It's a door from the kitchen.
I see.
Traveling.
I see the solid wall. Okay.
Going all the way down here.
Councilor Chang,
I sympathize with what Councilmember Marcy is saying, because I think it would be nice if we got it the way we liked it. The only thing that I will make one last plug for is like looking at the two tables or the center section, and you're looking out at the deck. I am sad that there are only single doors going to the deck, where the only double doors in that lobby area. Is it possible to add more double doors, at least from the eating area, to sort of bring in the outside deck area if you want people to eat out there? I talked about, people walking into, well, I don't know if that's going to happen, but it does seem ironic that you have a lot of glass and it's just very small openings out on the deck. So they could add another door or two.
Or even you're saying we're spilling out, right? How do I feel connected to what's going on inside if it's not more open?
I would prefer like folding glass
I didn't
doors,
catch
but if
that.
that's too expensive, maybe just another couple of double doors.
Mr. Mayor.
That would be nice.
Mr. Mayor.
all right, yeah, fair question. I haven't asked that one.
Maybe, Mayor, while you're at it, ask about sliding glass doors, commercial sliding doors instead of swinging doors.
So.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, so if you just do the basic math on it, with the tables that are there, it's like 112 tables. If we basically think that our bread and butter is going to be like some smaller weddings in there, you'd have to remove 6 of those tables anyhow, just to put a dance floor on there for its actual reception, based off the size of it. I mean, so you'd actually have significantly less than that, because no one's having a wedding reception there without even.
Well, remember though, to this end of it, there's a large sliding door, and that open space is part of that. All of this
to the east of the.
All of that is
behind it.
Right there, right there. That is a gigantic opening. I'm not. We're going to put the dance floor wherever.
I see.
We could put that tables can be put all the way out into that space if you wanted the dance floor on the other side, or but yeah, this is programmable all the way to the meeting room with an opening, a large opening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the size of the building is the size of the building. We're not changing the size of the building.
Yeah.
No.
It's,
And adding, like I said, we have to sacrifice something else to add additional restrooms because the use, changing it from whatever this use is, business occupancy, which is the top left, what it was, to banquet space, changes the number of restrooms we have to have.
So just so I'm clear, $100,000 contemplates all of that we've been talking about, right?
I believe so. Yes, it's a spitball.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And we haven't. I asked for a quick number from this. This is a spitball, and we haven't even contemplated if we move the stairwells and the elevators, the impacts to the library and what causes for redesign of it.
That's my point. Is it's no longer $100,000.
It probably is a loan.
And time. And so I've got the floor, I'll just say that I don't want to do anything that will cause this to delay.
Okay. So what that said, and I'll get feedback from all of you. Jay spoke to leaving this unprogrammed. Would you prefer that unprogrammed, or would you prefer to see it programmed? Because it would be relatively easy to make it a very nice meeting room, a very nice large meeting room. That falls within the occupancy.
What then would change that to mean the change in the bathrooms? Because if we're going to add people into a meeting room there versus it being all one room meeting, it's the same number of bodies. I don't understand the math for building.
It's building, I'm not, it's building code.
Yeah, I think it's occupancy classifications, and so the different space has a different
It's IBC, International Building.
occupancy number
Yeah.
of people.
So this is what we're, a meeting room is.
So this whole building won't be permitted the same. With condominium.
It's not all one use. So there's a B occupancy and the suite that's downstairs. It's assembly for the meeting space upstairs. So it changes your occupancy depending on what the use of each space is, and you have to separate uses per the building codes. But it's more technical than I'm comfortable getting too far into.
It's not to minimize, but meeting rooms have different occupancy requirements.
So let's say we leave it unprogrammed. Whatever we're about to go programs now not going to meet the right number of bathrooms. So why wouldn't I want to program it now to have the most amount of bathrooms I should ever need?
As long as we stay within that use table, there's a lot of things we could do with that space. It's not banquet and assembly space. It's different. It's international building code.
So I'm going to need those nuances before I can make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could program. You could program it as a meeting space. I don't know. You know, I didn't want to pick a use for it. I think it requires some engagement with the community, and I felt that at this moment in time, leaving it unprogrammed was the most prudent thing. Yep. Or we can put carpet, some lights in it, and a conference table in it, and utilize it if we think that's the better use. That was my.
I just want to go back to something.
I really think it's going to be a real black eye in the paper that we want to move forward because we're instead of getting it right, then worrying about being 2 months. And you're telling me 2 months when we got 18 months before we even get to that date, and we can't find a way to make up 2 months in that time period. That's hard for me to believe. So that's just my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So Scott,
I can get it down.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember.
Oh, I was also wondering, we can get some space because, if you have a party up there or, a banquet room, you want open bars. Everybody always has an open bar. And so I was thinking, why are we having telephone booths? If you need to make a phone call, you go out the hallway. I've never seen a telephone booth to go make a phone call. And if we can get that space back, you could put, that could be like 2 open bars right there.
Yeah. The banquet facilities I've been to, the bar is mobile. It'll be somewhere within the banquet event, not probably out in the hallway.
Well, no, that's not out in the hallway.
These phone booths in facilities I've been are highly utilized and highly desired because somebody's got a phone call they want to make, or they're going to do a Zoom meeting, and there's business purpose to this facility too during the day, not just banquet facility.
So you talked about engaging the public. I think before we engage the public, we need to have a better understanding of what it's going to cost.
Yeah, I was referring to this one space because I started talking with Sam and others. What is it we need in our downtown? And I haven't gotten good answers. We bannered some ideas around. To be honest, I don't think we have time for a public process and engaging the community to figure this space out. We will, if we don't get to construction on time, a lot of people are skeptical that this is real and that we're going to build this, and we are in 2027. And if that timeline slips, there's I know Dick's got some funding sources that we would potentially lose. You spoke to that, to me anyway. So you want to share?
Yeah. So the waterfront plaza, the overwater structure that's waterward of the building, we have an RCO grant for, and we have a schedule for that. And I've been told that if we don't start construction, we will not get an extension on that grant agreement. So that's a piece where we would lose $500,000, which is a big sum of money. It's only covering probably 20 or 30% of the cost of the waterfront plaza, but it's a good chunk of money.
Mr. Mayor. Just to edit, just to offer one comment and to edit what you just said. We don't have time for additional public outreach. There was extensive public outreach under the previous city council.
I mean,
Yeah.
we,
I just didn't want there to be an implication that there hasn't been public outreach because there
yeah,
was.
to the city council numerous times, you know, not this
this.
body, but, so this design was completed a few years back. You know, it's just the first time that this body has seen it in a public setting.
Well, it took so long.
Well, we re-engaged the architects. So Councilmember Roosevelt.
Yeah, I think we're getting hung up about one space that has evolved from one thing to another thing. I mean, if you put a label on it right now and say meeting room, does that meet everybody's approval? I'm saying have some flexibility with it. If we're not going to move the kitchen, which I'm totally against for reasons, I think that not only delay, but I think that the fact is it's gone through reviews, it's gone through architectures, it's gone through a process. We all have personal opinions, quite frankly, but we are where we're at right now. And if we want to keep delaying it, then my question is, why don't we just wait till after November, see what new council members there are and start back again? I'm sorry, but we need to move forward and we need to make some decisions. If you can live with it, then live with it. If you can't, then it's time to make a decision and move forward. And as I'm sorry that, it hasn't come back before, but I'll say this, and I know it will tick people off. That design has been out there for over several years. And if you haven't looked at it, then I'm going to say shame on you.
I will tell you, this design has not been approved by city council.
Yep. Correct.
I did go back through the meeting minutes and look through.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
Correct.
Want to make that clarity from last week as well.
Yeah. None of our designs are, you guys approve contracts, and whether it be road projects, we bring back the consultant's drawings, we share them with the city council. There have been tweaks to this throughout the design. Councilmember Tank's shaking his head. We've all been.
No, I'm nodding.
The council.
I'm nodding my head, not shaking my head.
Yeah, the council members at that time had oversight to this process from the very beginning, from the outside shell to the location. And so this wasn't done in a vacuum. So Councilmember Deemer.
I just wanted to say, and you've already heard it enough, but I wanted to lead into something else. We've talked about the space available for banquet here. We never build ourselves as being hyper competitive with larger spaces out there. And so if we don't reprogram that space, or if we keep it as a meeting room, I don't think it's going to be a black eye. I think the whole building in total is going to be great. And we never promised anybody, at least that I recall, that this would have X amount of capacity for banquet rooms.
I think the call out we got this morning was that the mayor made that comment in the paper, that it had something to the size of the crab feed, right? And I'm not putting the blame on the mayor here. What I am saying, that is what the public expects. That is what has been communicated to them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a representative from what the conversations I've had with folks in what they're looking for. So I'm trying to be a good steward of what I'm.
Right.
And I will own what I've said publicly numerous times. I would hope to have events like the crab feed. I'm not involved in that road. I'm not a.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything.
I don't know
the perception of how that was taken.
Yeah. At this time, 300 back 7 years ago. I don't know if it was that large, and you're planning on growing it bigger.
It's been big.
We're not in this event space isn't going to be for everybody, and it was purposely never intended to compete with the conference center and the capacity that it has.
And I'll just add that for some people, it'll never be big enough.
Yeah.
Correct.
And this is going to be challenging enough to afford this. It's the catalyst. It's going to be the catalyst for what happens in our downtown, whether that Orchard Street Plaza, gets that bank headquarters, and this project. And we can't lose sight of it.
Hey, Mayor. Oh,
yeah.
I was just going to remind you, the overwater structure that we designed, we laid that out with a large tent on it as well. Correct. So there is additional capacity on the overwater structure beyond what can be accommodated on the balcony and in the meeting room. So
and the plaza in front of it.
Maybe it's not one space that can hold that event, but it is multiple spaces that have a larger capacity than what this one room has.
Yeah, that is correct. And I alluded to that earlier. It's the I mean, the plaza ties into it, the deck space plays into it.
That was good to good reminder.
It spills right into it. I mean, Councilmember Chang.
I just wanted to add that I would actually support moving forward so we keep it on schedule. But if there is some leeway to tweak it, like maybe the room in the left could be for the vegetarians at that have a different or something like that. If we can keep along with the current schedule, because I think that's the most important thing is no delays.
Okay, so I'm hearing a couple say that's charge forward with that. I do think it's a good idea to ask a question about double doors.
Charge forward with what?
Just I've heard two of you saying, don't move the kitchen, move forward with the design as we have it. Is that what I heard from the
I'm
person?
leaning that way, but I'm also not confident in the number that we heard about what it would take to redesign. Because
I think it's a starting point. Yes. And it was a spitball number that they gave me very quickly. That's
just for our space, not for the library space.
It does affect the library also.
That's part of the cost.
Yeah, it would be. And the library isn't asking to change this. So Councilmember Rosa, I think and John, I think I'm confident you're leaning towards you'd like to pause and you'd like to revisit. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Councilmember Ternary, where are you leaning on this?
Well, I think with the caveat that we check into the double doors that Councilmember Chang talked about in the first earlier in this discussion, I'm comfortable with moving forward with the way it's set up.
It says future tenant. Are we renting that space?
The ground, you're looking at the ground floor?
Well, no, I'm still upstairs.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure what.
Yeah.
We left it blank. So it could be a tenant, it could be us. It's an unknown at this point. I left it unprogrammed when we moved away from the co-working space.
So basically
it could be a tenant.
Right, because there's some office space. But basically this is not a revenue that we're not going to really make money off of this community center.
I don't know of any community center that makes money. It's
right.
Half of this building is a public library, and we provide space to the library.
The library's underneath. Yeah, I get that. No, I kind of would like. I mean, I just saw this whole plans on last week. So I still would like to work with it.
So yeah, 66% of this is programmed to be funded by the Public Facilities District. The library is contributing $5 million, and we're covering whatever difference that is. The goal would be the operational costs are covered by events and leasing out the facility.
I just had a quick question which might inform on people's choices, but Nick, that future tenant space, if we set that up as assembly space, could you use it also as banquet space?
That's a question for the building official. I'm not positive. I don't know where they draw the lines in those definitions of assembly versus a B occupancy or some other occupancy.
For the kids' room, kids' table.
The kids' table. Okay. Eric.
Yeah. If you're asking if I'm okay with basically the kitchens that we're asking, we're asking about the left side of the facility.
Yeah, we're going to talk about bathrooms.
Correct. I want to get as much floor space as possible for a banquet.
Okay.
So to me, even like what I brought up earlier, I think you still lose a lot of floor space. So I like to see it redesigned. I want to see as much floor space for banquets as possible. We don't have many banquet areas, quality ones, especially ones on the water. I think this would be extremely desirable location, and it would fill up. But it's not going to fill up if it's too small. So I'd like to see it as big as possible, the floor space.
So I'm only hearing two of you really desiring to continue down the path of a redesign.
That's how voting works.
Yeah. So okay. So I hope you respect what I'm hearing is that the will of your peers. So, and I will ask the questions about some sliding doors and double doors so we can better activate the deck.
Yes,
that was a good question you raised, Fred. So Brandy, if you could, we've got a couple of, and you guys have them on the dais here. Rice Burgess provided me some examples. It would be extreme. So there was the dialogue around the water closets that are individual booths, and then the hand washing area. And Brandy, if you could bring up that hand washing area. This is a project that an example of a project Rice Fergus Miller would do. I emailed it to you earlier today.
It's the emailed version here.
No, there's another email I sent you.
Oh, that was Nick sent me that.
No, I know I sent you yes. It came from me before that one.
So we can start here. How much is this redesign going to cost?
I hope nothing, because
I don't care.
so here, I've got a solution, okay, that doesn't cost any money, okay, and the library is also supportive of, because I've talked to the library about it. So the easiest solution, if you guys aren't comfortable with, these are floor to ceiling rooms, and then the common area out there is where you wash your hands. So each one of those is a confined space with a door that goes floor to ceiling. And then I was asked earlier, where's the changing station? All that. There's a larger restroom off to the left over there. And then Brandy, if you could show the other image in that email I sent you was an example of a project that Rice Fergus Miller did and what that looks like out in that common space. And you guys have a copy of that at the dais. I just wanted to share it for the public. So if you're not comfortable with that, and these are intended, I mean, this is what, when you go into Starbucks, it's a unisex stall. The airport, I've seen examples of this airport, and I think this is Vibe co-works over in Paulsville. I think is what this project is, a project that Rice Fergus did. So so I'd like to hear, if you're not comfortable, I know some of you aren't, but so I'd like to hear from all of you whether or not you're comfortable with this current configuration. And then the solution that Rice Fergus offered was, that doesn't cost us any money, is and the library would be fine with this, is designating one floor male, one floor female, and signing it that way. If we redesign this, we will have to stack on both floors, and the library wouldn't be comfortable with it. There isn't enough room to do a male and female restroom in the space that's been allotted to this. We would need to move things around and sacrifice other things. And the library is already sacrificing space from what they have currently. It's just going to be configured better, and they're comfortable with what they have. They wouldn't be comfortable redesigning their space and chopping that up to create two separate restrooms. But they would be comfortable if you're not comfortable with what has been designed to go a male and a female stacked. And what you see at the Admiral Theater, when you visit there, there is an elevator, so it would be ADA compliant. So, Eric?
Yeah, I think a lot of the locations that you mentioned so far are private and not a community center. By the paid for by the public. I think it's kind of unfortunate that it was designed this way. I think it wasn't thought out very well. It wasn't presented this way. I looked at previous things, and it wasn't presented that way. I watched your KBAT video when you sat there and they presented it as well, and they didn't cover this either.
Councilmember Warden, I know for a fact it was, because I distinctly remember Councilmember Clausen questioning this and discussing it with the architectural team.
The KBAT, when it was presented, the CAT TV, is that what it is?
BCAT?
BCAT, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was only talking about the project at a high level. I mean, I didn't.
But they toured the facility, I'm saying. Okay. I mean, I watched the video just to make sure that I'm not bringing up something new, right? I want to be fair and do my research on it. Okay. But I think it's really, we're going to build a really nice, beautiful facility. And it's just going to receive all kinds of backlash, all kinds of black eye. And there's no shock that my mom's entering a bathroom and walking in there with a 22-year-old male, or my father's going in there with a 16-year-old girl. They're just not entering that, and they're very, very common average people. That's just not happening. And to say that, well, these aren't designed, not everyone's flavor. We had the opportunity to do something that is not controversial. It's not even debatable by having bathrooms like that. You mentioned the theater. I spoke to someone the other day, and he said he went to, that's telling Morrissey, he said that he went to a play in Seattle, and he had to go to the bathroom extremely bad. And we all know this person. This person's an amazing person. And he said that he couldn't even use the restroom because there's a little girl that was going in front of him. And so he had to turn around and go back to his wife and said, I can't go in there. I just think that we're going to build something really, really nice, and we're just going to draw all kinds of negative attention to it, make it even more challenging to rent. I think having upstairs and downstairs is extremely inconvenient. You have someone who's upstairs has to use an elevator to go downstairs just to use the restroom, male or female. I'm down for a little bit of a delay to pay whatever the difference is to change the bathrooms to avoid the public not being very satisfied with what we're going to put out there for them. So
we're going to go round and around circle. Okay.
Go
Well, and I am too, and I'm more concerned about little kids going in here for a unisex, and where's the parents? One of their parents are in the library doing something or whatever, and you have little kids going in there with grown-ups, and we know there's a lot of offenders in this area that can use that space, so that's unacceptable too to me. And I think this could be an okay to one. We can easily, that's why I said that little teeny storage space can turn, so I'm talking upstairs first, can turn into a bathroom. You just build a wall and then a door. So you got a bathroom on this side and you got a bathroom on this side, male and a woman's and a man's, and you do the exact same thing downstairs.
So Councilmember Fenton, it's the room you keep referring to that's the audit, that particular meeting room is designed as a boardroom, and it has high-tech audiovisual equipment, and that's the closet for that high-tech equipment. So what Rice Ferguson Millers, it's not, and if it's not acceptable to do stacked male and female, we need to engage with our partners at the library, and we will have to sacrifice things on the bottom and top floor, because Rice Ferguson Miller is telling me there isn't enough. The number of toilets we have is how many we have to have in the building, and to get to that many toilets, we've got to and separate men's and women's on both floors. It will take more space, and we will have to sacrifice things within the building, potentially move the restrooms somewhere else. I don't know.
So you can't have two restrooms and two restrooms, two for a woman and then two for a male. You can't do that upstairs
and then
do it downstairs.
You've got also the sinks and everything that goes with that.
Right.
I mean, we could sign what we have right here today, 2 of them men, 2 of them women, and we could do that with signage if you're just wanting us to put. I don't know, where's the picture?
Well, if they're going in here, there's a little kid coming all the way in here with grown-ups.
It's only the hand washing area. These are individual
walls all the way around it.
It's open here and all the way across the front, just like this. You can instead of this screening, it's remember the ropes in the picture? That same effect is here. You can see this area, this sink area, from outside. This is not a wall. This is not a solid wall along these sinks. You can see into this whole area standing in the lobby.
Is this the one downstairs? So you got one,
They're
two,
both
3,
the same.
4, 5, 6.
But they're both
You got
the same.
6 stalls.
I think so. I think they're both the same. But it is not all of this common area can be seen from the lobby. It's not a solid, well, it looks like a solid line. It's not. It's this high with sinks, and you can see through it. It's the rope what was like in the stairwell.
Well, I don't see why you can't put a wall and a sink on both sides, a wall and a door and a door.
Okay, I'm not an architect. I was told by the architect that we would need more space than this to achieve what you're asking for. So that's what I was told by the architect. So I'm just sharing. Councilmember, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, we get to the place where we're designing bathrooms any different. I didn't know there was an issue with the way bathrooms were built, that we would design it differently, right? Well, I don't know what was the impetus to make this different than any other building we have anywhere else in the city.
That's what the designers recommended. They believe this is the trend of the future. They presented that to the city council. I only remember one Councilmember Clausen, questioning that. We had dialogue about it. He was satisfied, and we moved forward with this design. And it was a number of years ago.
Yeah. I think my concern goes back to, we've used it, example, I don't know how many times already tonight talking about a wedding, right? And alcohol service, and then you're going to mix that in with youth. And I just think there's way too much at risk there, and I would like to see a redesign.
Okay, Councilor Dina.
So I've been in a bathroom like this. I can't remember which airport, LAX or Japan. Maybe CTAP. Maybe it was CTAP. I don't know. And I didn't have a problem with it, but that's the controlled area. And so I was thinking about, what would be my experience with that versus, I think the firm mentioned that they have this in their office as well. And that's an adult environment. Yeah. Airport's a controlled space. But this has been the subject of a lot of discussion, not just in my household, but with friends and my wife's coworkers, nurses, and many of these mothers don't seem to have an issue with it being a shared bathroom like this. I, on the other hand, have kind of begun to wonder, like, what if I was a mother and I had a 5-year-old daughter? How would I feel about that? And so I feel like maybe the happy compromise here is to suggest that one is upstairs as women's and downstairs as men's. I think that's the best compromise without actually, or vice versa, without having to suggest what I think could be expensive redesign.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. Okay. How would a 96-year-old grandmother at a wedding go downstairs? How are we making people feel?
We have an elevator
based off of that. Yeah, again, she's got to go to another floor. Even with an elevator, it's not super easy for.
That's why I suggested the men downstairs. But she had to take an elevator to go up.
Question.
Go ahead.
So also in this conceptual drawing on the second floor, we have 2 ADA restrooms.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah.
One upstairs and downstairs?
Yeah.
No, they're side by side.
They're side by side.
Yeah.
So we have this complete separate, safe and secure ADA restrooms, 2 separates. And then we have this bank that we're all discussing. Is that right?
Yeah, because the ADA is very common, is unisex.
Yeah, I think they're often called family bathrooms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you have a wheelchair, you need that 80,
But I just want to throw that out there because there are options for your 96-year-old grandmother if she's upstairs, or grandfather, if they're upstairs. I got to say though, you're swaying me a little bit, Rob, because you're saying this is a half wall behind the sinks. My big concern with it though is there's only one way in and one way out of this area. And I'd rather have a pass through in that sink area than the way it sits right now. I'm not a fan of the unisex bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this working, but I think the best concept that they're going forward, I could see it working with an upstairs and a downstairs, knowing we have 2 ADA bathrooms that are designated as well on each floor. I could live with that. but I'm not comfortable with it as a unisex bathroom on each floor.
Fair enough.
And whatever you have to change your clothes or get, I mean,
You would do it in the stall.
well, yeah, you go in the stall, but it looks like there's like one mirror and everybody uses the mirror to, I know if you have to refreshen up and you're fixing yourself up in front of everybody. It's not just in a women's bathroom.
Let's hear from Councilmember King.
I just had a couple comments to add. One is that these are rooms and not stalls, so that makes a huge difference to me. These are like floor to ceiling doors. These are not stalls where you see, someone's feet under. I mean, so that I can see maybe in the future. I would actually go with this design, but have it stacked. And maybe 20 years down, if they want to make it all genders, they could, because they have solid doors for these rooms. I think I would agree with what Mark's saying, that there are ADA restrooms available. If we were maybe to look at maybe a phone booth or something, I don't know, seeing if there could be an additional ADA restroom somewhere else.
Yeah, plumbed.
That could be an alternative for the gender who is not the one, whoever the designated bathroom is for.
So I'm hearing some appetite for the compromise, which would then wouldn't really cost us anything just to stack them.
It might even save us money if you don't have to go floor to ceiling with walls and doors. And
I think Fred brings up a good point. Let's leave that. I don't think we're saving a lot of money.
okay,
That gives that flexibility. If this is the wave of the future, it's built for it.
yeah.
It's not.
There's a lot of opinions.
It has to be sound.
It's no way.
We're just dealing with ventilation.
So let's go to Jake. We haven't heard from Jake.
No, I've been sitting this one out. I've been to several locations, including basically where they've had shows with kids and unisex stalls. Has been an issue. That may be because it's maybe a little bit more progressive. I don't know. For me, I would say that the easiest way to resolve this would be go with the stack, maintain the floor to ceiling doors. You have the ADA that can be a family room, or I've seen them where it has a wheelchair, a male and a female figure. So whoever could use it at the time that needs it, use it. One of my reasonings, I agree with Fred. Hey, down the road, things change. One of my reasons for continuing for the floor to ceiling would be there's always a potential of a restroom needing to be shut down. And in that case, you might have to turn one into a unisex bathroom. And that would alleviate any issues about that. So I'm in favor of the stack and leaving it where it's at. So that's my sense.
And it brought something up earlier, so I just want to kind of throw that out. Like, maybe we should engage with the public. I know we did hear from one person, the only person that came tonight spoke about this particular issue. Maybe we want to hear more before making that decision, because Jay was right? We could wait for that next council. The next council is actually going to make that decision, because no matter what we decide tonight, they have the power of the purse. When we go to build this, they can say, I'm not going to fund it because I don't like the design. I would want to engage the public.
Yes.
I don't know that we need to engage the public on this. We've all been to different venues and places where you have to go to a different floor to use a bathroom. It's not that much of a hardship. So I feel like the best compromise is one we could make right now. And
those are old buildings. This is a brand new building. Those older buildings are, at Fifth Avenue. You go down below or you go up, but they're not unisex.
okay.
Either.
I'm not suggesting that. My comment was that we have all been to different places where you had to go up a floor to go to a bathroom or down a floor to find a bathroom. And I'm not talking about unisex bathrooms, dedicated bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make it right?
Sure. I don't think it's that much of a hardship, really.
I'm going to try to move us along here because we're ending the near, and we've got.
I just got one more thing to say. If we are going to go with stacked and we want to have one be a men's room, include some urinals. Don't make it all stalls.
I'll raise that question. So we've got at least a 20 or 30-minute executive session. So don't run off here. I don't think anybody's. We are where we are. Okay, the building's done. Okay, can we, I think the compromise that doesn't cost us any money is stacked restrooms. Can we, you know, some folks are wanting to leave it exactly the way it is, but are willing to can we get there?
No. No. And plus we had someone in our
Okay,
audience
so I-
saying that to us. So I think we need to really honor that.
Did you want to count votes to see if we got there?
Okay, so can I see who would like this redesigned? I guess. I can see a raise of hands. Okay, I've got 3. And as I heard a compromise in stacked restrooms, is there a show of hands who would be comfortable with that compromise of the stacked restrooms, leaving them designed the way they are to, as Councilmember Chang mentioned, you know, future councils, whoever it is down the road could make change to this if the use. So I see a show of hands that would like to see. Okay, so I got it's split, but it's afforded.
Gamble.
All right.
So we got 288 upstairs and
I-
downstairs,
Do
completely closed in and stacks on each floor.
Do we have-
Correct?
I have to,
You don't,
I don't know if it's one.
No.
I'll have to confirm that.
Please.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah. That's good.
88 family restrooms.
upstairs, downstairs.
I know the library has its own staff restroom.
I don't even want to make them 88, they're not 88 or.
Okay, I'm gonna punt this the last meeting item to a future council meeting. And we don't, we'll get that back on the agenda. I think we've got a light agenda coming at our next council meeting, and hopefully we've got good bids for the demo of the buildings. Are you guys comfortable with foregoing committee reports? For sake of time, or
I was just gonna make one comment.
about transportation committee, I think is the only one that's met.
No,
EDT map.
Oh, let's do land use and transportation. Go ahead.
okay, so land use, the main point, you saw the development activity presentation, but the main one I wanted to bring up was Bravo Terrace parking. We had a discussion about that, why that it was basically no parking in front of Bravo Terrace, partly sanitation reasons, partly because of extended RV parking. And so there wasn't any desire of the committee to move it forward to change the parking in front of Bravo Terrace. That was what I wanted to let people know. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor,
Okay.
on land use, our next meeting is scheduled on the 20th, and I believe the mayor and I both have an event that day, and so I was wondering if there's a possibility of moving that to the 27th of August.
That's fine. I won't be in town.
It looks like we gotta find a new.
Okay, I'll reach out to you and try to find a different date.
My question is really, do we have an agenda,
We have MFTE code revisions that we could talk about at committee that are ready to go. So
Okay.
otherwise it'll have to wait till September.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would like to be there for that.
Okay, who's chair of transportation? Can't remember.
Right here. All right, so bear with me because it's hard to take notes fast while listening and also making your notes readable. So tonight we had our transportation committee meeting. There was updates on some projects. One of them included the active construction contract that we talked about tonight, voted on tonight. The other one was another one was Anderson Hill improvements, and the Transpo group is working on that. The Sedgwick corridor, or the intersection from Highway 16 into town, that's being worked on. There will be some property acquisition on the east side near the crest of the hill that may be needed for that program. Bethel Phase 1, the consultant is ready to get started, and that's that phase between Salmonberry and Blueberry on Bethel.
We're getting ready to get started right away acquisition.
Getting started right away acquisition. Okay, thank you for that. In terms of SR 166 or Bay Street project, there has gotten NEPA approval, as I understand. So that's huge.
Huge milestone.
It's a big deal. Good job. Tremont phases 2 and 3, the outreach and concepts for that are going to be available to the council and the public in August and September, and that will inform on connectivity for non-motorized transportation. Jay had asked that an issue be brought up, which would have included flashing yellow turn arrows at Bethel and Lund, like you see at Jackson and Lund. We talked about that a little bit. The cost for the cabinet change out is not cheap, $300,000 to $400,000. But we also realize that at some point, relatively soon, that intersection is going to look a lot different with the roundabout. We talked about Etta Turner Park, and I think everybody knows where that is, by Damn Fine Pizza. The Public Works Department has observed that people are camping right along Etta Turner Park up against the curb. And so they had asked that we consider signage to allow for up to 2-hour parking in that space. And we all thought that was reasonable.
And then, and I've talked to the West Bay Center owner, and he supports that change.
Yeah. Okay. And then we got an update on grant applications and working on 4 grants, including for Bethel and Tremont. That's it.
Okay. And I've got 3 quick things. Back to Bay Street, we've received our funding documents. No one I did, and so Noah's going to start that process to obligate those funds and bring those to the city council. I've had some conversations previously with Commissioner Garrido, and Nick and I had negotiated a targeted annexation over on Sydney Road, and we've recently been talking about taking a nibble out of maybe Mile Hill and Bethel South.
Right.
I've talked to the current commissioners, and they seem receptive to that idea. And so I intend to. Nick's working on a letter that I would, and unless you guys object, to formally ask them to start that process. That would involve postcards and outreach to affected property owners and developing some documentation to what it means to join the city and so on and so forth. But the county seems receptive to starting that process, and so unless I hear any objections, I plan to send a letter out by the end of the week to the county commissioners, asking them for their response and support in moving forward. And I met with the county administrator last week, and the current commissioners are looking at annexations completely different than the prior commissioners had. With their budget challenges, they're literally looking. They're hopeful that this isn't just our first annexation. That and I don't think there's much. We could not take all of our UGA at once, but I think if every few years we took a bite out of it, and move that needle, that's something we're supposed to be doing under growth management, and they're looking for the other cities to do that too. So, this could be the first of a number of annexations over numerous years into the future.
Does that inform on annexation policy that we'll get to weigh in on?
There's a tool. It could be, but there's a tool that the legislature put in a few years ago that allows for an ILA annexation process.
Sure. So
that between we owe it to the affected parties to communicate with them, deal with the one-offs that potentially don't want to participate, and if it's logical boundaries, there's no harm in that. But an island surrounded by the city, that probably doesn't make sense.
No, and I'm thinking more of I get all that, more of where we want to target our annexations. So target existing development versus, let's say, large tracts of undeveloped property.
So
that has each of those have different ramifications.
Right. And so I think we've talked about it previously, the annexation that we'd likely be asking for this first time on Sydney Road. There's 3 or 4 different pockets of county that are surrounded by the city. Those are just very logical.
Yep.
We would like, I think, to control the development activity on Bethel South. So we're asking for the entire UGA out to Bethel Towing from Fred Meyer. And then there's one little parcel I can't remember the reasoning on the one in Annapolis, the Retzel area.
There's 4 customers that are on city utilities, but they're paying 150% of our rates because they're not in the city limits. So it just brings our customers into the city.
Yeah.
I think all those you mentioned, we talked about during the comp plan at one point.
Yeah, and then the comp plan got in the way. And then the most recent addition, we go up Mile Hill, all the way to Whittier on the north side, but we stop at the Armory on the south side.
Yeah.
So to bring the city limits on both sides of the street to the same point. So it's not a large area. It's not going all the way up Mile Hill. It's going about halfway up Mile Hill.
Mayor, could we see a map again of this? Because we're kind of talking around about,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm coloring in my
I will
head.
email you that map.
Yeah, would you
Yeah,
please?
thanks.
I'll email out.
Okay.
I'll do that to you.
Yeah, that would just help a little
Yeah.
bit.
I have a map.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Nick can probably do it right now while I talk about my last item, which is these chairs. I think everybody but two liked, I'd like to see uniform chairs across here. And I think we're gonna address these chairs a little differently. I think why these other chairs haven't lasted the way we wanted is that they're being taken off the dais. It's not good for the pistons on them. And I think we're constantly playing musical chairs up here and taking the ones that work and the ones that are not very functional. Last person arrives gets to sit in the sinking chair.
Well, I arrived early and I have the one losing air right now.
So are you comfortable with replacing the chairs, the rest of the chairs? Are you guys good with it? Okay. Again, we were comfortable with this chair. I bought one before I went out and give you it. So, all right.
We go down.
I'm done. We are going, I'm going to forego anything urgent, staff.
You have citizen comment period.
Yeah, yes, I do. And yes, you have one?
We were going to talk about the draft EIS that the Navy issued and our opportunity to provide comments.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think the main concern for Port Orchard and what we ought to be communicating to the Navy is that they need to evaluate the transportation impacts on Port Orchard resulting from the increase in workforce and employment and people who are living in Port Orchard and working at the Navy and getting from point A to point B. So we are going to start drafting a comment letter. I'm going to be on vacation for our next council meeting, but I'll have Dennis share that letter with you before it goes out, and then he can complete the task of sending it in on behalf of the city, unless I hear four or more objections.
So we're just going to comment. I would say impacts divorced are our concerns.
Right.
Sedgwick interchange and additional traffic there. And we have a roundabout project here at the bottom of the boulevard that I think we could hopefully ask for them to consider helping us for impacts. So
sure.
We'll see if it goes anywhere.
What I would ask is maybe we can get the county to sign off on that as well.
I think
maybe
their issues are probably a little different than ours, but
well, point A to point B issues are the same. I think.
I mean, it's more global than us.
Yeah.
Gores.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Bremerton, we're working collaboratively with Bremerton, and I'm certainly Nick can work out in the Regis County. So, let's go to any other. Nope. All right. We'll go to our.
Just one more sign up for the Coffee with the Council for August. I have Councilmember Diener and Fenton signed up. So if there's a third council member, just
do it.
Put me on unless I'm working that day.
Okay, and then you'll be back up. Gotcha.
Okay, let's go to our second citizen comment period.
Yeah, Robert Showers. Couple things. One is I've come to 4 council meetings now, and I've been waiting for this public comment interaction, and now it's getting pushed to another meeting. So I don't know what the problem is, but it seems like when it comes to this issue or a few other issues, everybody's in a hurry to go home. My time's just as much important as yours, and I don't see why this can't be taken up just like anything else. And the other issue is, I guess I heard that there's not going to be any separation of the men and women at the new center.
That's incorrect.
Okay, because if looking at your drawing, the new drawing that you sent over, there's no reason why you couldn't just put a center wall right up the middle and open up the front, and you got the same amount of stalls, no difference. And for capacity, I don't see a problem with that. I just don't understand it. But the main issue I have is this public comment with these interactions. Because 4 weeks now, or 4 meetings, And it was well talked about before that, before they even became on the agenda. So that's all I gotta say.
Appreciate your comment, Mr. Showers. This is the first time it's been on a business meeting. It was on a workshop.
This was talked about at the workshop.
All right, anybody online wishing to, okay, go ahead. Clerk, I see a hand raised and the clerk's going to bring you into the meeting. Please identify yourself once we get you into the meeting.
Well, I think Zoom has changed their settings. Only allowing me to report them. Just a moment. It used to have this here. And then
You're not a host, Miss. Well,
what was that?
and here it doesn't say Brandy Wallace is host. It says Janine.
So Janine may need to do that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so, because. Give me a second.
Hey, Nick, could you forward that to the full council to save me a step?
They were BCC'd.
He did? Okay. All right. I didn't see that it went to you guys too. All right.
They changed all the settings.
I'm trying to make this. Trying to make this
What did he forward?
Matt. Fred said he got it.
Well, we got it. Now you lost. That's not. Thanks.
Use the participants maybe. No, they're.
Oh, they dropped that. So, what happened to them, but it's not,
Okay, we need to figure that out for our next meeting.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, we lost him. Okay. We are going to go into an executive session. We'll start with 20 minutes.
Okay.
You want to state the statutes? And
Council will go into an executive session pursuant to RCW 4230-110 subpart 1B and subpart 1I.
Will be
to
passed.
consider the selection of a site for acquisition and to discuss the legal risk associated with a proposed action for 20 minutes is what you said?
Yeah, and
with no action.
Councilmember Morrissey brings up a good point. We need to extend our meeting. Is there
preemptively
extend our meeting as long as is necessary to complete our business in the executive session?
Mayor, move to extend our meeting as long as needed to have the executive session.
Second.
Motion a second to extend the meeting solely for the executive session. No action will be taken after the executive session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are now headed into executive session. Yeah, Fred, right there too. We won't start the clock when you guys get back. There's two topics in. You're welcome. Okay.
Interesting.